This is multiplying polynomials. The product of two polynomials always results in an answer that is a polynomial. So just like the set of integers, the set of polynomials is closed under multiplication. We're going to look at three different ways that we can multiply polynomials. The first method we're going to use is the distributive property. So when I have here two binomials that I want to multiply, I'm actually going to distribute the x and the 2 that are in this first parenthesis, part of my first binomial, to my second binomial. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to start by multiplying x, this first term in my first binomial, times the entire second binomial. And I'm going to add that to 2 times x plus 5. And now I'm going to solve both of these. So if I distribute here, x times x gives me x squared. X times 5 is 5x. Here, 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times 5 is 10. Now these two terms right here can be combined. So I have x squared plus 7x plus 10 as my final answer. Let's try this one. So I'm going to distribute the x and the 3 to my monomial of x minus 4. To avoid making any errors because of the subtraction sign, I prefer to change them to add the opposite. Now I'm going to distribute. X times x is x squared. X times negative 4 is negative 4x. 3 times x gives me 3x, and 3 times negative 4 gives me negative 12. These two terms can be combined. So I have x squared plus negative x plus negative 12. And for my final answer, I will get rid of these plus negatives by turning them back into subtraction signs. So x squared minus x minus 12 is my final answer. So let's investigate another way that we can multiply binomials. In this method, we're going to use a table to multiply our binomials. So the first thing we need to do is write each binomial as a sum of terms. So rather than having this binomial as written as subtraction, I need to change it to 2x plus negative 3. Since my second binomial is already an addition problem, that one is ready to go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the two individual terms of my first binomial, and they're going to individually go in these boxes right here. So my first term is 2x, and my second term is negative 3. For this binomial, my first term is x, and my second is 5. Now I'm going to put the product of each of these different monomials in these boxes. So x times 2x gives me 2x squared. 5 times 2x gives me 10x. X times negative 3 gives me negative 3x. And 5 times negative 3 gives me negative 15. Now when I go to write my final polynomial here, I notice I've got two terms with x. So these are going to combine. So I'm going to have 2x squared, 10x and negative 3x is going to leave me with 7x minus 15. The third method that we're going to look at to multiply binomials is called the FOIL method. In this method, in order to multiply two binomials, I'm first going to find the products of my first two terms of each binomial, then the outer two terms, then the inner terms, and finally the last terms. And the way to remember this is first, outer, inner, last. Start with the letters F-O-I-L, which spell FOIL. So I'm going to take this binomial multiplication problem here, and once again, to make it a little easier for myself, I'm going to make them addition problems. So I'm going to add the opposite. And the first thing I'm going to do is multiply the first terms of each together. So x times x gives me x squared. Then I'm going to do the outer terms. X times negative 6 gives me negative 6x. Then I will do the two inside ones. Negative 3 times x is negative 3x. And finally, my last terms. Negative 3 times negative 6 will give me 18. These two can be combined, and I get x squared minus 9x plus 18. Here I'm going to change this to add the opposite. So in this case, I'm doing first terms. 2x times 3x will give me 6x squared. Then outer terms, 2x times negative 5 gives me negative 10x. My inner terms, 1 times 3x will give me 3x. And finally, my last terms, 1 times negative 5 will give me negative 5. These two in the middle can be combined, and I have 6x squared minus 7x minus 5 for my final answer. The last thing we're going to try is multiplying a binomial and a trinomial. Now we have three different methods that we talked about for multiplying binomials: the distributive property, making a table, or the FOIL method. And though all of those will work for this problem, what I'm going to solve this using is my distributive property. I'm going to distribute the binomial. So I'm going to make these addition, just so I don't make any errors with my subtraction signs. And then I'm going to do x times x squared plus negative 3x plus negative 2 plus 5 times x squared plus negative 3x plus negative 2. So here I'm distributing the x to all of these terms. So I'll get x to the third plus negative 3x squared plus negative 2x. And here I'm distributing a 5. So I'm going to have 5x squared plus negative 15x plus negative 10. When I go to rewrite this problem, I'm going to write it with my highest degree terms here and my lowest all the way on the right. So I'm going to have x to the third plus negative 3x squared plus 5x squared plus negative 2x plus negative 15x plus negative 10. This helps me see which ones I can combine here. So I'm going to have x to the third plus 2x squared, negative 3x squared and 5x squared gives me positive 2x squared, minus negative 2 and negative 15x is going to leave me with negative 17x, minus 10. And there is my final answer.